Day after the U.S. Supreme Court ruling on a transgender student athlete ban, some Vermont lawmakers want a ban here.
4 Republicans drafted a bill banning trans athletes from women's and girls' sports in Vermont. 20 states now have laws like this on the books. The Supreme Court ruled only yesterday on whether the 12-year-old West Virginia girl could play on her school's track and cross-country teams, while a lawsuit over that state's ban continues.
Now there's a push to make Vermont the 21st state, but Calvin Cutler is here to tell us that bill is likely going nowhere. Calvin?
Right. Sponsors of this bill say that they want to spark a conversation about fairness in sports here in Vermont. But the proposal is meeting resistance from leaders on both sides of the aisle.
House Bill 513, introduced Friday, would prohibit individuals assigned the sex of male at birth from participating in an elementary, secondary, or post-secondary activity that's designated for girls. Its lead sponsor, Clarendon Republican Art Peterson, says he heard from constituents who were concerned about fairness and safety.
The folks that I represent and the people that I interact with, many of them see this as a pretty big issue. They feel that a male competing in female sports is a real safety issue.
Peterson adds the proposal does not address trans men playing in women's sports. This proposal brings Vermont's legislature into the national conversation about transgender athletes in sports.
This bill essentially is illegal, and there's no grounds for it to go anywhere because it's discrimination.
Dana Kaplan, the executive director of Outright Vermont, says Vermont is not immune to attacks on the transgender community.
Attempts like this to strip trans youth from their right to participate actively in school harms trans youth. And we see that from the data here in Vermont and across the country.
The proposal has lawmakers on both sides of the aisle reacting. House Speaker Jill Krowinski saying in a statement that she'll pass legislation to improve trans kids' lives. And Republican Governor Phil Scott also weighing in.
Let them be who they are and let them play. Now, on a higher level, professional, collegiate, and so forth, then there probably should be some parameters. But let's let the kids be kids.
Some 20 states have passed legislation banning transgender athletes in sports. In Vermont, lawmakers are moving in the opposite direction, advancing a pair of bills that would safeguard people who seek or perform gender-affirming care. This bill is going nowhere this legislative session. Peterson recognizes that, but adds,
I have no illusions that this is going to be the law after this year at all. But I feel it's important to get these things out for the conversation, if nothing else.
Now, according to lawmakers, Vermont is now the 45th state to have such a proposal introduced at the State House. Reporting in Montpelier, Calvin Cutler, Channel 3 News.
Calvin, thank you. And now lawmakers want to get involved on a federal level. A new rule proposed by the Biden administration would prevent schools and colleges from enacting outright bans on transgender athletes, but it would allow certain exceptions to promote fairness or reduce injuries. If finalized, it would become enshrined as a provision of Title IX, the landmark gender equity legislation enacted in 1972. However, it must undergo a lengthy approval process, and it's almost certain to face challenges from opponents. Stay with WCAX on air, online, and on the go as we follow this piece of legislation. Download the WCAX News app to your mobile device and never miss a thing.